Hello and welcome to TD's Pokemon Lair. I'm TD and this is the Lair. Today we're unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to PSA a while back. Just got them back in this nice little box, professionally packaged so that they're safe and sound. Let's get them out of here and see what grades we got. You're looking at a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Seel, the number 61 card of this set. Looking at the front surface of this card, you can see that it's very crisp and clean. There's no bends, creases, or dirt or grime. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think all of those are within tolerance. Our corners and our edges look really clean. I don't see any damage to them. As we take a look at the back of the card, you can see that our surface is really nice. The Pokeball and the graphics are clean. I don't see any creases or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think that's pretty close to tolerance. Looking at it left to right, it looks a little bit to the right to me, but it might be within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, there might be a slight, tiny bit of damage on that upper right edge. And we're going to get a grade of Gem Mint 10. Wow, that surprised me. I didn't think I'd get it that good. This card is a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Tauros, the number 62 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see our centering from top to bottom. It looks pretty close to tolerance, and left to right, I think it's slightly towards the left, but possibly within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look really clean, and there's no damage that I can find on the surface of this card, no creases or bends. Looking to the back of the card, our surface is clean, the graphics are nice and bright, I don't see any damage. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it looks a little bit towards the top, but probably within tolerance. Left to right, looks pretty close. And looking at our corners and edges, I might see a small speck on that upper right corner. And that's going to get us a grade of Gem Mint 10. Another 10. I like it. We are looking at a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Wartortle, the number 63 card. Looking at the front surface of this card, it's really clean. There's no creases or bends. Looking at our centering from left to right, I think that's within tolerance, but from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the bottom. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look really clean on the front of this card. Looking at the back of the card, you can see that our centering from top to bottom looks a little bit towards the top on here, and from left to right, it's quite a bit towards the left. Looking at our surface and our graphics, they're really clean. I don't see any creases or bends. And looking at our our corners and our edges, our two lower corners have some damage. We'll get a grade of near mint 8. That's pretty darn good. You're looking at a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Weepinbell, the number 64 card of the set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's really clean. The surface is free of bends and creases. Our centering from top to bottom looks pretty close to tolerance. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the left. And our corners and our edges, I see no damage that'll affect the grade. As we turn this card over and look at the back, you can see that our surface is really clean. I don't see any damage, creases, or bends. Looking at our centering from left to right, I think it's slightly towards the left, and from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top. Our corners and our edges look really nice for most of the backs of the cards. That's going to give us a grade of Mint 9. Awesome. That's pretty good. Let's check out this 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Abra, the number 65 card. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really nice at first glance. I don't see any damage or big creases or anything like that on the main surface of this card. Our centering from top to bottom looks pretty close to tolerance. From left to right, that's pretty close. As we get to our corners and our edges, the corners look pretty good, but we do have some damage on that upper edge, especially towards that right corner. Onto the back of the card, you can see that our surface is really clean. There's no creases or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, that all looks pretty darn good. Looking at our corners and our edges, you can see there's some damage to the upper left edge, and the two right corners have some slight damage. And there's some edge damage down that right side. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 7. Not too bad with all that damage. We have a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Bellsprout, the number 66 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's really nice. I don't see any creases or bends. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think all is within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, they're nice and clean and crisp. As we look at the back of the card, let's start with our centering from top to bottom. I think that's close to tolerance, if not within. Our side to side tolerance looks a little towards the left, but it might be within the spec for the back. And looking at our corners and our edges, they look pretty nice. I don't see much damage to them, and there's definitely no creases or bends in our surface of our card, so this might be a very good card. We're going to get a grade of Gem Mint 10. Awesome. Possum. Love it. Let us take a look at a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Bulbasaur, the number 67 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see the surface is clean. There's no dirt or grime. There's no bends or creases. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think all is within tolerance, or close to. And our corners and our edges look really nice and clean. As we flip the card over and look at the back, you can see that our surface is just as clean as the front. There's no creases or bends back here. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think top to bottom looks pretty good, and left to right is real close to tolerance. And looking at our corners and our edges, they look pretty nice. I'm surprised. And that's going to give us a grade of Gem Mint 10. I like it a lot. You're looking at a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Caterpie, the number 68 card. Looking at the front of this card, I like the graphics. They're really crisp and clean. There's no creases or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think that's within tolerance, and left to right looks really close to tolerance also. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think they're really nice and there's no damage. Take a look at the back of the card, and we'll start with the surface. It's really clean. There's no creases or bends. Our corners and our edges actually look really pretty good. There is some very slight damage maybe down that left side. And looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top, but left to right, you can definitely see it's quite a bit towards the left. And that's going to give us a grade of excellent Mint 6. Wow, that's a little low. It should have been better. We have a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Charmander, the number 69 card of the set. Looking at the front graphics of this card, they're really crisp and clean and bright. There's no creases or bends. Our centering from top to bottom, it's slightly towards the top, and left and right, it looks pretty close to tolerance. Our corners and edges look really nice on this card. As we flip this card over and look at the back, you can see that our centering problems continue. From top to bottom, it's towards the top quite a bit, and from left to right, it's towards the left. Our corners and our edges look really good. There is some very slight damage on that upper right corner. Our surface has no creases or bends or any dirt or damage. And we're going to get a grade of what for Charmander? We got a grade of Mint 9. Like it. Let's look at a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Cubone, the number 70 card. Looking at this card, you can see that it's really clean. There's no creases or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it's towards the top, and left to right, I think it's really close to tolerance. Looking at our corners and edges, they're really nice and clean for the front of the card. Taking a look at the back of the card, our centering is towards the top and towards the left of the card. Probably taking us out of the 8, maybe even the 10 or even the 9 spec. Looking at our corners and our edges, it looks like there's some very slight damage on that upper left corner, but the rest of the surface of the card and the graphics look really nice and clean. And we're going to get a grade of Mint 9. That's pretty good. I like it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and remember, you got to catch them all. Have an awesome day.